This Filmmaker IQ lesson is sponsored by Blackmagic Design, creating the world's highest quality solutions for feature film, post-production, and television broadcast industries.
In a world of mass entertainment, with new movies opening every Friday night, one advertising medium would arise, growing into a virtual art form. This is the history of the movie trailer.
Looking back on the evolution of the movie trailer, we must consider the evolution of how we watch movies. Unlike the multiplexes that we're accustomed to today, the first movie theaters in 1910 had only one screen. You would pay your admission, say 5 cents, and you could sit in a theater for as long as you wanted. Show times weren't precise. A feature-length movie along with short films and a cartoon would play in a continuous loop, and you could just sit there and watch it as many times as you wanted. 1913 would be what many historians consider year zero for the movie trailer. In New York City, Niles Grunland, advertising manager at Marcus Lowell Theater, made a short little promotional film for the Broadway play Pleasure Seekers, showcasing actual rehearsal footage from the play. The idea of showing ads between the films was a hit, at least to the movie theater owners. The practice of creating and splicing in promotional pieces into the screening rotation was quickly implemented by the Lowell Theater chain and copied all around. Around the same time in Chicago, Colonel William Selig, one of film's earliest pioneers, would engineer another way to get audiences back in the movie theater. Now, Selig noticed the popularity of print serials in newspapers, so he approached the Chicago Tribune, a newspaper embattled in a circulation war with who could be the most sensationalist, to adapt a film version of a print serial. The result was a 13-episode serial entitled The Adventures of Kathleen. This wasn't the first film serial ever made, it actually was the second one, but it introduced a new plot device to film marketing. You see, each week, a new installment would debut along with an article in the Chicago Tribune that continued the story. What made The Adventures of Kathleen different was at the end of each installment, something would happen to put the characters in some sort of peril, a cliffhanger, often with a title card inviting patrons to come back the following week to see what happens. So thus the idea of the movie trailer was born, and so too the term, as these promotions for upcoming attractions would play at the end of a film reel. Now, most of these promotions were produced by the movie theaters themselves, but by 1916, movie studios caught on and began officially releasing trailers for upcoming movies. Now, these first film trailers were pretty basic. They generally consisted of snippets of film with some text overlay, such as the cast of stars. Now, there was also very little money in the trailer making and then renting business. It took a group of clever businessmen to figure out a way of making money off the nickel and dime work of trailer distribution. But in doing so, they created a company that would hold a virtual monopoly on movie trailers and promotional items for nearly 4 decades. When we think about the power of Hollywood, we often think of large sound stages and studio sets. But anyone anywhere in the world with the right amount of capital can build a movie studio. Now, Hollywood's power lies in its ability to get movies it makes to a paying audience. That's distribution. In an era before the internet or even reliable phone service coast to coast, distributing movies and promoting them with trailers and posters was a logistical nightmare, one that the major studios were happy to outsource to a company called the National Screen Service. Started in 1919 by Herman Robbins, the NSS opened an office in New York City that took movie stills, spliced in titles, and turned around and sold those trailers to movie theaters directly. They didn't even ask permission from the studios. Well, that didn't seem to bother the filmmakers. Quite the opposite. Many studios happily signed deals to submit their films to the NSS to be made into trailers. By the 1940s, the NSS had branched out into poster and paper advertising and had contracts with all the major Hollywood studios. The way the NSS made money was by signing movie theater owners to a contract where the NSS would take care of their poster, and trailer needs on a week-by-week basis, and the NSS would kick back a small royalty to the studios. Now, occasionally a studio like Warner Brothers or Columbia would experiment with their own trailer cutting department, but for the most part, the NSS dominated the trailer making business from the 1920s through to about the 1960s, creating template-style trailers with some very specific stylistic patterns like screen wipes and fly-in titles as seen in this classic trailer from Casablanca.
Casablanca, city of hope and despair, located in French Morocco in North Africa. The meeting place of adventurers, fugitives, criminals, refugees lured into this danger-swept oasis by the hope of escape to the Americas. But they're all trapped, for there is no escape. Against this fascinating background is woven the story of an imperishable love and the enthralling saga of 6 desperate people, each in Casablanca to keep an appointment with destiny.
I was willing to shoot Captain Reno, and I'm willing to shoot you. All right, Major, you asked for it.
Coming into the 1960s, a new generation of star directors began to redefine the trailer. Among them was the legendary Alfred Hitchcock. Instead of showing scenes from the movie, Hitchcock, who had become quite well known to audiences from his Alfred Hitchcock Presents TV series, cashed in on his celebrity, taking audiences on a tour using his gallows humor style in this trailer from 1960's Psycho.
Good afternoon. Here we have a quiet little motel, tucked away off the main highway, and as you see, perfectly harmless looking, when in fact, it has now become known as the scene of the crime. This motel also has, as an adjunct, an old house, which is, if I may say so, a little more sinister looking, less innocent than the motel itself. And in this house, the most dire, horrible events took place. I think we can go inside because the place is up for sale, although I don't know who's going to buy it now. In that window on the second floor, the single one in front, that's where the woman was first seen. Let's go inside.
The re-emergence of Cubism in film and commercial art in the 1960s was not lost on another emerging filmmaker, Stanley Kubrick. Having experimented with fragmented cutting styles in the trailer from 1962's Lolita, Kubrick comes back strong in 1964's Dr. Strangelove with a trailer that I consider probably the most bold and brazen pieces of movie advertising ever made.
Attack!
Russia. Oh. Base.
10 females to each male.
A Coca-Cola machine.
Fluids.
The Doomsday Machine.
Blaster!
Dr. Strangelove.
Or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and
Love the Bomb. A moving picture.
As movie censorship and production code began to fall by the wayside, trailers began to feature anti-heroes, such as this one from Bonnie and Clyde. More emphasis was laid on the music, as in the Simon and Garfunkel score from The Graduate.
Oh, Jesus God, no.
The tide was turning away from the cookie-cutter style trailer of the NSS. And as the film theaters turned more toward multiplexes with multiple screens in the 1970s, with less space for movie poster advertising, the monopolistic grasp of the NSS began to crumble, and movie studios and production companies reasserted control over promotion. But, as we shall see, the Hollywood promotion machine was just getting started. By the 1970s, the movie business landscape had completely changed from the studio-controlled golden era of Hollywood. One of the key turning points in distribution strategy came in 1975 with the release of Jaws.
There is a creature alive today who has survived millions of years of evolution without change, without passion, and without logic. It lives to kill. The mindless eating machine. It will attack and devour anything. It is as if God created the devil and gave him jaws. Roy Scheider, Robert Shaw, Richard Dreyfuss.
You're going to need a bigger boat.
From the best-selling novel, Jaws, rated PG, may be too intense for younger children.
If you were watching TV in the summer of 1975, you most likely saw that trailer. Jaws was the first successful film to see a wide release. Prior, movies would premiere in big cities and then roll out to smaller markets over the coming weeks and months. But Jaws opened big in 464 theaters on June 25, 1975, expanding to 675 theaters a month later, the largest simultaneous distribution of a film in movie picture history. The idea of the wide release was to get the most bang out of the advertising buck. Universal bet an unprecedented $700,000 into television advertising alone, saturating the airwaves with John Williams' creepy score. The gamble worked. Jaws saw huge opening box office numbers, $7 million in the first weekend alone, and an ultimate run of $470 million worldwide. The Blockbuster strategy was born, and at the heart was the movie trailer. Big, bold visuals for big movies. And the voice to many of those blockbusters was none other than the great Don LaFontaine, the voice of God, who has lent his talents to over 5,000 movie trailers and hundreds of thousands of television commercials. So identified with the phrase, "in a world," that Geico saw fit to spoof it in this ad from 2006.
When the storm hit, both our cars were totally underwater.
In a world where both of our cars were totally underwater.
We thought it would take forever to get some help.
But a new wind was about to blow.
As a so-called MTV cutting style with fast-paced edits shaped a generation of audiences, the trailer has adapted and become what it is today. With the internet and immediate global distribution, a movie trailer is almost a genre unto itself, with boutique editing houses in Hollywood focusing solely on crafting that perfect piece of movie advertising. In a world with increasing competition from television and video games, all competing for a limited resource, your time and your money, the role of the trailer as a moving, breathing, talking representative of a film, easily consumed as a preview before a main attraction, or easily shareable content on social media, has never been so important. So go out there and make something worthy of an awesome trailer. Make something great. I'm John Hess. I'll see you at filmmakeriq.com.